There comes a time in life, especially as we grow older, when we realize that our role as parents has evolved. We've spent decades nurturing, supporting, and guiding our children. Now, in the autumn of our lives, we find that even the most loving and well-intentioned parents sometimes struggle with saying no to their kids. Today, I want to share with you 7 gentle yet effective ways to say no without feeling that familiar sting of guilt. In doing so, we not only protect our own well-being but also encourage our children to learn the art of self-responsibility. And if you're finding value in these ideas, please consider leaving a comment with your own experiences, hit that subscribe button for more thoughtful content, and give this video a like if it resonates with you. I remember a time not too long ago when I had to turn down one of my daughter's requests for help with a project that, frankly, I knew was something she needed to handle herself. It wasn't easy. I had spent years worrying that every no might be seen as a withdrawal of love. But as I took a deep breath and spoke firmly yet kindly, I noticed something remarkable. Not only did she appreciate the space to grow on her own, but I also felt a renewed sense of inner strength and clarity. Research indicates that when parents set healthy boundaries, it benefits both parties, fostering independence and boosting self-esteem. It's not about rejecting our children, it's about teaching them that they too are capable of taking charge of their own lives. Now, let's explore how to put this into practice in a way that feels natural and compassionate. Sometimes the first step is simply to be clear about what you want, and then to stand by it. When you decide that a particular request doesn't serve you or your child's growth, communicate it in a straightforward, loving manner. For instance, you might say, "I appreciate that you need my help, but I believe you can handle this on your own." In saying so, you reinforce the idea that your role has changed. Over time, our children must learn that our guidance, though always available when needed, is not meant to solve every problem. This clarity comes from understanding our own values, which have been honed by years of experience and wisdom. Reflect for a moment on the idea that saying no is not a denial of love, it's a way of showing respect for both our limits and our children's ability to learn by doing. Think of it as a gentle reminder that independence is part of growing up, for them and for us as well. Moving along, it helps to set boundaries consistently. Consistency is something we learn over the years through our own ups and downs. When you establish a rule, perhaps that you will only be available for certain types of help during specific times, it creates an environment where expectations are clear. I once decided that weekend mornings would be for personal reflection and exercise, a time I reserved just for myself. When my son asked for help on one of those mornings, I gently explained that my schedule was set and that he could count on me later in the day. Over time, he began to respect that boundary and started handling more responsibilities on his own. Research shows that setting consistent boundaries not only protects our energy but also helps our children learn to plan and manage their own time more effectively. It's all about mutual respect, honoring our own needs and giving our kids a chance to rise to the occasion. Another approach is to remind yourself of your core values. When we're people pleasers, our default is often to say yes in order to avoid disappointing anyone. But with age comes the wisdom of knowing that our time and energy are precious. Take a moment to consider what matters most to you. Is it your peace of mind? Your health? Perhaps your hobbies and the relationships you have cultivated with friends over the years? By focusing on these priorities, you can see that every yes to a request is also a no to something else that might enrich your life. I've often thought of it as managing my very own budget of energy and love. Each time I say yes when I really mean no, I'm borrowing against my future well-being. It's not selfish to take care of yourself, it's necessary. And when you model this behavior, you're teaching your children a vital lesson, that self-care is not just acceptable, but essential. As you become more comfortable with saying no, another valuable strategy is to give yourself time before responding. Sometimes, the immediate reaction is to jump in with a quick yes, because we fear conflict or worry about hurting feelings. Instead, practice the art of pausing. When a request comes in, say something like, "Let me think about that," or "I need a moment to consider." This little pause can be very powerful. It allows you to step back, assess your own feelings, and decide what really serves your highest good. I recall a week when I made it a point to delay my response. By the end of the week, I realized that many of the requests were not as urgent as they first seemed, and I felt a deep sense of relief knowing that I wasn't simply reacting out of obligation. In fact, I learned that the space between request and response is where we reclaim our agency. Experts say that giving yourself time to respond can reduce stress and help ensure that your decisions are aligned with your values rather than driven by guilt. It might sound counterintuitive, but sometimes a little humor can ease the tension of saying no. Our relationships with our children have always been filled with warmth and sometimes a bit of playful teasing. Incorporating a gentle, light-hearted tone when you say no can make it feel less like a rejection and more like a natural part of your conversation. For example, if your daughter asks you to do something that you really can't commit to, you might say with a smile in your voice, "Oh dear, you know I'm not that spry anymore. I'll have to sit this one out." By framing your no in a humorous and self-aware way, you invite your children to see that boundaries are a healthy part of life. They learn that even if we can't always say yes, it doesn't mean we love them any less. In fact, research suggests that humor can be a powerful tool in reducing conflict and strengthening family bonds. In many cases, proactive communication is key. Rather than waiting for your children to ask for help or impose their expectations on you, try to set the stage for how interactions will flow in the future. You might share your plans with them in advance, explaining that you've decided to prioritize your health, your hobbies, or your time with friends. For instance, you might say, "I've set aside Monday afternoons for my book club and quiet time. I'm not available for errands during that period." By discussing your schedule and your priorities ahead of time, you create an atmosphere of mutual understanding. Your children begin to know what to expect, and over time, they adjust their requests accordingly. This proactive approach not only minimizes surprises but also reinforces the idea that boundaries are not arbitrary, they're a reflection of your needs and values. And remember, as you set these expectations, do so with kindness. Let your tone be warm and loving, as though you're inviting your children to join you in a new way of relating to one another. Perhaps the most important element of all is practicing self-compassion. It's natural to feel guilty when we say no, especially if we've spent our lives being the ones who always said yes to our children. But it's important to remind ourselves that we, too, deserve care and respect. There is a growing body of research suggesting that self-compassion leads to greater overall happiness and lower levels of stress. When you feel that pang of guilt, take a deep breath and gently remind yourself that you are not abandoning your children, you are setting a healthy boundary that benefits everyone. Over time, as you practice self-compassion, you'll begin to see that saying no is not an act of selfishness but one of self-respect and care. In this way, you are modeling for your children the importance of taking care of one's own emotional and physical health. I want to share a personal story. A few years ago, I faced a situation where my daughter, who had always been so independent, came to me with a request that I knew would stretch me too thin. In my heart, I wanted to help her, but I also recognized that if I agreed, would compromise the time I needed for my own well-being. After much thought, I gently said, "I'm sorry, but I can't help with that right now." Initially, I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. I questioned whether I was being too harsh or unloving. But as days passed, I realized that not only had my daughter managed the situation on her own, but she also later thanked me for giving her the space to learn and grow. That experience taught me that setting boundaries, although uncomfortable at first, can lead to healthier outcomes for both parent and child. Now, I'd like to invite you to consider how these ideas might play out in your own life. Perhaps you have a favorite moment when you successfully said no and discovered a new sense of freedom. If so, please share that story in the comments below. Your experience could be the inspiration another viewer needs to make a change. And if you're enjoying this conversation, do subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any future insights designed especially for you. It's important to remember that our children, too, are on a journey of growth and learning. Just as we have matured through years of experience, they too must learn to navigate life on their own. When we say no in a firm, respectful, and loving manner, we are teaching them an invaluable lesson, that boundaries are not walls but bridges that help define healthy relationships. Saying no can empower them to become independent, resourceful, and confident individuals. This shift is gradual, and it's a process that benefits both sides. According to recent studies, clear communication and well-established boundaries contribute significantly to long-term relationship satisfaction and personal growth. There might be moments when you feel that twinge of guilt, when the echoes of your lifelong habit of pleasing resurface. In those times, remember that your worth is not measured by how often you say yes, but by the integrity with which you honor your own needs. When you allow yourself to say no, you are asserting your right to rest, to enjoy your hobbies, and to cultivate the relationships that bring you joy. You're also giving your children permission to step up and solve problems on their own. And while it might seem challenging at first, every time you stand firm, you're reinforcing a new and healthier way of relating to one another. As we draw this conversation to a close, I invite you to reflect on the journey we've taken together today. We talked about the power of clarity, how being honest about your needs helps both you and your children understand that boundaries are a natural part of any evolving relationship. We explored the importance of consistency and how setting rules ahead of time can minimize misunderstandings. We touched on the significance of core values and the need to pause and reflect before saying yes. We even discovered that a touch of humor can soften the delivery of a firm no, and that proactive communication can prevent many conflicts before they arise. Most of all, we learned that self-compassion is key, that you deserve the same kindness and care you've always given to your children. I know that the idea of saying no might still feel a bit foreign or even uncomfortable. But trust that each step you take, each gentle no, spoken with love, will help create space for both you and your children to flourish. It's a process of unlearning old habits and embracing a new, healthier way of living. And as you practice, you'll likely notice a gradual shift, a deepening sense of peace, a more balanced relationship with your kids, and even more time to enjoy the things that make your own heart sing. Before we end, I'd like to ask you to do something for yourself. Think of one small request or situation this week where you can practice saying no in a kind but firm way. Maybe it's declining an invitation when you need time for yourself, or perhaps it's setting a clear boundary about your schedule. Once you try it, come back here and share your experience in the comments. Your feedback not only helps you reflect but also supports others who may be facing similar challenges. And if you found today's insights helpful, please hit that like button and share this video with a friend who might also need a reminder that it's perfectly okay to say no. In closing, I want to leave you with a gentle reminder. As parents, our love for our children is unconditional. Yet unconditional love also means allowing our children the freedom to grow, make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes. By saying no when it is necessary, we create an environment where they can step into their own strength and independence. And in doing so, we honor the journey we have taken to become the wise, compassionate individuals we are today. Thank you for joining me today and listening with an open heart. I hope you feel empowered to set your own boundaries and take care of yourself in the process. Remember, every no you say is a step toward a healthier, more balanced life, for you and for your children. Until next time, take care of yourself, cherish your relationships, and always honor your own needs. If you enjoyed this message, please share it with someone who might need a little encouragement to set healthy boundaries. Subscribe for more conversations about nurturing yourself and your relationships, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey towards self-respect and balance is one we all share, and your voice matters.